Stories of ghost ships have captured our attention for generations, with the following 5 ghost ships caught on camera and spotted in real life, including some real-life ghost ships and some that leave a little to be desired. The footage is quite spectacular, even if you don't quite buy into some of them being more than hoaxes. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Lake Superior Mirage. One video currently making the rounds is of a ghost ship sailing across Lake Superior. Commenters have been divided with regard to what this vision actually is. Some say that it's probably nothing more than a mirage, although many more have claimed that it can't be anything other than a ghost ship caught on camera. It definitely does look like some kind of sailboat, albeit a very large one. The video is quite mysterious and doesn't seem to have been altered at all. The sound is a little off, with the high winds taking front and center stage along with the mystery ship. It seems to glide gently across the screen and is certainly an eerie sight, no matter what explanation you believe is true. Nobody seems to have a realistic or scientific explanation other than the ship being a mirage, but we don't think it's quite that cut and dry. The high winds and rough seas could very easily have obscured an actual ship from view, making it look otherworldly when it's really just a little foggy. But so far, nobody's stepped up to claim ownership, and nobody seems to be able to locate a ship of that description. That being said, Lake Superior is pretty massive, so singling one particular ship out is bound to be a tricky business. The video was taken at Breakwater in Michigan, specifically around the Marquette area, and there's evidence that there's a ton of saltwater spray hanging in the air, which makes us believe that this image is just an actual ship that's been partially obscured and hidden from clear view by the less than optimal conditions. Jason Asselin is the man behind the video, and he said that he had to pull his camera out and film his encounter because he was sure that nobody would believe him otherwise. He's been quick to say that while he's still quite puzzled over the entire event, he's not quite ready to toss science out the window just yet. He says that the object was located miles offshore, quite a long ways out, which means that this ship would have been absolutely massive up close. He also discounted the idea of the ship being a mirage, much like we have, stating that the conditions would have had to have been perfect, which is clearly not the case. Some have mentioned a ship called the Bannockburn that sank way back in the 1800s and has supposedly been haunting Lake Superior's frigid waters ever since that time. No matter what their opinion on the subject, almost everyone who has seen this video says that it's an impressive sight, regardless of whether or not it's an actual ghost ship. We wouldn't mind seeing this for ourselves just to be sure, but we really can't discount the fact that this could be an actual glimpse of a ghost ship in real life, which we think would be pretty cool at the end of the day. Number 4. Holland America Line Shenanigans. The person who uploaded this video claims that it's irrefutable evidence that ghost ships are real, but we're not all that convinced. The footage is clear and they do get a great shot up close, but we think what they saw wasn't a ghostly vision at all. When the video starts, the person behind the camera seems to be on a fishing trip with a group of other people, with their rods set up and ready to go. Trawling is always a ton of fun, and this expedition doesn't seem to be out of the ordinary at all, until, that is, a massive cruise ship comes into view, of course. They're chatting about their day and plans to go fishing, saying that they're looking forward to the trip. It looks like they've opted to head out in the early morning, as the sun hasn't yet risen, and the camera looks like it's in night vision mode, with everything having an eerie green tint to it. A little ways in, you can see a massive ship outlined on the port side, slowly coming into view as they approach it. What initially made us think that this was a hoax is the fact that the crew seem very laid back about their ghost ship once it comes into view. Furthermore, you can clearly see the words Holland America Line printed along the side of the boat, which is a company that's very much still operating all over the world. The video says that the group was just off the Canary Islands, and we expect they were possibly weirded out by the fact that they're not used to seeing cruise ships in the area. You can also make out people aboard the ship as it pulls into port, which really isn't anything out of the ordinary. We figure this group is trying to have a little fun with us, and most commenters were left unimpressed, immediately calling this a hoax. We did some double checking to see if Holland America Line runs out of the Canary Island, which they very much do. That being the case, this video's almost certainly just a practical joke, with a group of fishermen having some fun with us. We can't help but wonder why they'd go out of their way to pull a stunt like this, and we're willing to admit that they could very well have seen something strange that we missed, leading them to believe that the ship wasn't of this world after all. The uploader, however, doesn't mention anything that we should be looking out for, and we expect that it's just a group of bored anglers that wanted to stir up some interest in their trip. We'd like to hear what you have to say about this particular tall tale, and we look forward to you leaving your own theories in the comments below. Number 3. Halifax Ghost Ship. Getting back to where we should be, this next video hails from Halifax, Nova Scotia, where gloomy and foggy conditions are a regular occurrence. It's clear that visibility wasn't very good on this particular day, and that conditions were perfect for creating ghostly illusions. Still images make this ship somewhat hard to see, but video footage perfectly captures the outline of what seems to be a tanker slowly making its way through the fog. Halifax is a port city that rests along the Atlantic Ocean and has all sorts of ghost ship stories to keep anyone who's interested in such things entertained for quite a long time. Many sailors leaving Halifax have been lost at sea, and ghost ships aren't considered to be out of the ordinary at all, especially with Halifax's long and storied history. We can't quite make out the markings on the side of the ship, which is a bit of a letdown because it would help us work out once and for all whether or not this is a real ghost ship or just another tanker sneaking by while being obscured by fog. One thing's for sure, and that's the fact that if this was a real ship, the captain must be exceptionally good at their job because we wouldn't be caught dead in conditions like that, especially on such a large ship. When visibility is so low, any number of minor mishaps could see all hands aboard being lost without anyone being the wiser. Over the course of a couple minutes, the ship slowly sails past the building to the left of the frame, slowly disappearing out of sight. Even if this isn't an actual ghost ship, it certainly looks the part and would be freaky for anyone watching it make its way past them on its way to wherever it happened to be headed. Tankers are a regular sight in Halifax, and we were unfortunately unable to find any other evidence to back this claim up, although we're willing to admit that it could very easily be a vision of something that's not actually physically there. The fact that it's moving so slowly makes the ship creepy enough in its own right, and we're willing to give this ghost ship sighting a little leeway, saying that we think it could be the real deal. Number 2. Ohio River Sighting. A group of kayakers came across this ship that's been an Ohio River derelict for over 30 years and definitely looks the part of a ghost ship. It was once a steam-powered monster that has definitely seen better days. It's over 100 years old at this point, and we initially assumed that it was run aground and abandoned after being made obsolete by more modern ships. After a little digging, we were able to determine that the ship was originally named the Celt and has a long and storied history to go along with it. First built in 1902, it was privately owned by a railroad magnate, but was eventually rented out by the US Navy. They took over the ship in 1917 and renamed it Sachem, which many mariners considered to be bad luck, although they've always been known to be overly superstitious. It seems like they didn't end up causing too much bad luck to befall the Sachem, as it served during both world wars quite admirably. It even underwent a third name change, finally being known as the USS Fennecyte. Interestingly enough, Thomas Edison actually sailed about the Fennecyte and used the ship to transport some of his experiments that were funded by the US government, which just adds more depth to its life. The scene is quite spectacular, and we think that coming across this monster would be quite a sight. It's been overrun by nature at this point, with the hull mostly rusted out and not much keeping the elements at bay these days. The kayaker who took this footage was James Mallet, and we're glad he decided to take the time to hop on board and take a look around the 186-footer. The ship maintains its vigil over its eventual gravesite, and we doubt it's going to be moved anytime soon, meaning you can head on over and take a look for yourself if you so choose. The location does seem pretty remote, and we can definitely imagine this ship conjuring up thoughts of ghosts and spectral sailors still standing watch. This makes it somewhere we'd be happy to avoid at night, when the creepiness factor would certainly get kicked up a notch. We don't get a good view of the insides of the ship, but that's probably for the best because we're sure it isn't the safest place to explore. Old tanks can even be seen below decks that have seemingly remained untouched for over 30 years, which only adds to the intrigue. Number 1. Costa Concordia. The Costa Concordia was a cruise ship that capsized, forcing crew and passengers to abandon it and run for their lives to lifeboats. It ran aground in shallow water, and the teams who captured this footage mark the first step in its salvage attempt. It measured over 492 feet long and was done in after a 230-foot hole was torn into its side. The captain was eventually tried for abandoning ship while passengers were still aboard, as well as charges of manslaughter after passengers died due to his inability to perform his job. The ship remains exactly how it was when it went down, with images being quite chilling. The ship's final moments must have been filled with panic-stricken passengers, and our hearts go out to those who didn't make it. Divers can be seen making their way through the interior as they go about ensuring that the craft is ready to be eventually hauled out of the water, which is quite an immense undertaking, to say the least. Hope you enjoyed the video, folks. If you did, make sure you click that subscribe button before you head out if you're new. That's all you have to do. Come on, just click it. I know you want to. Oh, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. I heard it gives you superpowers in the future or something. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.